Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Roleplay Cafe. I wanted to get on here because I put up a video yesterday. I've since rescinded, taking it off. It was prompted by John had put out a question about why no overarching story path in Dark Age of Man. And when I saw the DM Condor, it said, he sees rules and restrictions for the GM, which in Dark Age of Man is the presenter. What enjoyment does the presenter get out of the game? What fun to be had when there's restrictions? Well, I took the video off because I think the two, to me, and I can only speak for myself as far as enjoyment, have a lot to do with each other. The no overarching story path puts that's a necessity because it puts the way the game functions, it puts the presenter in a state of naivete. So he is just as naive as the players. Whenever you start out, there might be a situation already in progress. Say in media res, it's already in progress, and you're dropping them into it. They may have a goal that they have to attain as far as party members together, or they may start out in more of a situation where they meet up and it's more vanilla, and you go off and you make your way into the world. So no matter how you start it, there is a naivete across the table that levels everything for everybody. So in large extent, the presenter is playing the same way that the players are. He doesn't represent a player. He's not accountable for that player, responsible for the player's actions, of course, but he is responsible and accountable for the setting, including the NPCs and the world at large. So when he's playing in this state, he may lay out what the goal is initially, like when Jason laid out the fact in the game with me and Derek that we were charged to go retrieve the holy relic from basically Ireland, probably 50 miles inland, in Dane-infested, yes, the Danes, Dane-infested areas. How would we go about doing that? And he said we were supposed to meet a monk, Seamus. And when we got up there, Seamus wasn't there. How we can approach the situation and have total feel like, from a character standpoint, that we are in control of our destiny. We decide where to go. We're not putting two and two together to get to the next story prompt, in a traditional story path game setting. It's like everybody at the table knows their own story path, and they know that they have to unravel some kind of situation that will lead into the next. And the resolutions can oftentimes be narrow in between the scope. Like if it's written on a paper, you must trigger this to get to this. A lot of if then, which can suffocate the player's ability to really approach things out of the box at times. We want to totally let the players go, trust the players to get to the destination that they're traveling to, if they are traveling anywhere. But the destinations in their own life paths will eventually create their story organically. The GM, aka presenter in this game, because he does not have control, he does not know the end game. He isn't reading from, like I said, a box text describing what happens, from a module or anything. He is totally naive. When Jason put that in front of us, he told us the contact The monastery, we know where these locations are. We see a map, and we're going to try to get there. And Seamus wasn't at the rendezvous point. So what happened to him? I know that we almost ran into Danes in a longboat. Could they have accosted him, taken away? Did he have the relic with him? Did they take it? How are we to proceed? We gathered that the best course of action was to go to the monastery. So that's what we did. We could have been backtracking for him for all I know. See, none of that was set in stone. Exactly. The dice tell you the truths and the falsehoods of the world, inform you when you get there. So even the presenter is surprised by results on the same level that the players are, and whenever they're trying to complete their tasks. So he doesn't know. There are situations, times where you are prompted to discover truths via the dice roll. That was addressed in the comments too, as we stated. Everybody is focused. Every character has their agendas, their desires. They could be cohesive. A party agenda too isn't the goal that they're trying to do, but everybody has their own characterizations and personalities that they're following, and worldviews, and they come in all stripes and colors. So the players get that liberty to really play and enact and interact with each other on that level, and the presenter, as he represents the NPCs in the world, and the setting itself. So there is a across the board, across the table feeling that everybody is playing to find out, playing without a net, I like to call it. And there's no one way. There's no wrong way. There's how the players approach the situations and the resistance of the world that they feel pushing back on them, that define who they are as characters and bring the story, their individual stories to life along the path. And that is the joy of it. That is the joy of it. Whenever you sit back and play Dark Age of Man, you don't know where this puppy's going. So even the presenter. And as far as rules and restrictions, ironically, like DM Condor said, with these rules and restrictions, wouldn't the GM be more like, they want to have more control, but the restrictions that they have limit them to that control. Well, as earlier stated, the fun to be had, and a lot of this can only really be understood when you sit in that position and you play as GM, and your mind is opened up, and certain realizations are coming to bear. The players will affect the world. That's taken into consideration as the party and players progress along their course. And it helps define how the world responds to them and how other NPCs respond to them. So even you as a presenter, the random seed generator is triggering effects in the world, even if it's not immediately understood or relevant or in the immediate area of the MP of the player characters. There are still things going on. The world is alive and is dynamic, and the random seed generator populates this world and this setting based on roles that happen throughout the game. And then the presenter plays off of that, adds it to it, knows everybody at the table. The pacing is brisk. There's no large amounts, and this also goes with one of the joys. There are no rules or restrictions in that regard. You've got to sit there and do administrative duties, heavy administrative duties that put a pause or will slow the actual role play of the game down to where you have to sit with you know, basically a committee, or you have to flip pages and this is what happens here and check your math. And maybe some players might find a joy in that, of interpreting a bucket of dice. But in Dark Age of Man, the joy that we all feel at the table is, those that come back are the ones that enjoy sitting there and playing in a character without break, to where they can understand, and it comes alive in their mind. Everybody sees this simultaneously happening across the table. Everybody's position, worldviews come alive as far as the characters. The world itself is represented by the presenter. He's relating to the players and seeing how they are affecting that pushback from the players, and representing in character even the NPCs that they come up against. So he's feeling from the world state how the world may feel about these characters in response to their action. That's where the focus lies. The focus doesn't lie in, oh, wait a minute, let's see if this math is right to approach this area. It's less of a game to where you're really enjoying resource management, even though the players' characters obviously have resources that they have to manage, food supplies and everything else. But it's not about mechanical resource management, trying to min-max your character to get the best of that. That is so peripheral and over to the side. The dynamic nature of the game is you are in play, in character, you're responding simultaneously as things evolve and go down, and you're playing off of the world and off of each other at the table. And that is where the joy comes alive, even for the GM, the presenter. He's engaged. Everybody is engaged in lock corners at that table, and trying to make sense and make something of what is going down, in the world and with each other. It's really it enables me personally to become fully more so immersed and invested in what's going down. And that is a joy, even from a presenter's point of view, just making sense of the world and putting it together and seeing it come alive, and seeing things that would have happened that could not have been pre-planned. We all know that players in any game are going to think outside of the box and come up with something that we didn't preconceive. And this is a lot with modules. Whoever wrote the module, they're not the player of the module to come up with something surprising that's going to throw a monkey wrench. In Dark Age of Man, we don't want to limit that from the players, of course. We want that to be full blown and engaged. But it isn't, we're removing that module-esque type situation to where there's a limited course of actions that the module takes into account of how to resolve a situation. And I know that there's, in most games where people are playing off of a pre-designed story path or a module set, that it does allow the players to approach in various ways, but it only considers up to a certain point of how they would approach to resolve situations that the module puts in front of them on that story path. So this is totally, Dark Age of Man is totally open. It doesn't even have that callback to the module of being restrictive. It lets you approach it fully, more so engaged in how to resolve issues. And it does allow you as a presenter to not have to be of a dual mind, to where half of your mental facilities are processing computations and making sure that game mechanics are being withheld. If it's more fiddly of a game, any game, the depth of rule complexity that has to be adhered to while you're playing the game is it will has more of a chance of bringing you out of the immersion and into the meta aspects of the game. Um, Coming to Jason was it's like football is nowadays when you're watching that, and they always have to go up to the replay booth. And then you sit there for 5, 6 minutes. We're just allowing the players to play. And we're making rulings off of what that based off the dice. If you want to get deeper into that, you should watch the video Jason put up about that I'm drawing this from. You have to forgive me right now. I can't think of the video. It does have the Dark Age of Man emblem across it. Okay, where these comments came from. But excuse me. That ultimately is what, to me, is what makes it come alive and makes it seem real. So anyone who thoroughly enjoys narrative play with less mechanical intrusion, that will take you out of the immersion, because the immersion at the table lends so much to the table coming alive in the situations. It's not a pause, let's take procedural turns game. It's you feel it at the table because people are reacting and you're reacting in kind. So you're very much engaged in what's going on. You have to be alert. You're not over there looking at your phone going, when is it my turn? No, you're there. You're there. Even the presenter's there. No one knows where this is going. There's no end game for the presenter. He does send a task or a goal for somebody, but how they get there and the avenues that they take, each individually and as a party, define who they are as characters, and it's character development and the full Monty of character development is on display. And that is a joy. That is a joy. This can be, in fact, you could have an AP challenge, an actual play challenge, and watch other games. And you'll see people have fun interpreting the dice and the mechanics. In large part, they're out of role playing. They're in under the hood, I like to call it, and working. The joy of it is interpreting the dice and looking at the resource management of the characters and seeing how they can leverage and apply certain resources that their characters have to increase their chances of success. So it goes into more of a traditional gaming, trying to win the encounter based off of more so off of the math than it does primarily the situation. Of course, you're always engaged in a situation and trying to take that into account, but the situation in Dark Age of Man is very much live. There's no let's not talk or plan about this unless there's a situation in the game that warrants it and you have the players are isolated from it and think, but you are engaged in your character and you're still trying to represent from your character's standpoint of view their worldviews. It's strange. You're in their live. You're in their live. Even if you play, this is for me, even if you play really character, Jason stated, and you can play it where you're describing what your character does, but the instead of necessarily speaking in character like I do, but you're still invested in this character. You're still invested in their goals, and you see the world of Dark Age of Man through their eyes, and you respond in kind to it. You could tell the way I'm going on about it. It's fun, even from a presenter. I will sit down. I've stayed away from being a GM more so because traditionally it appeals to more of a person that wants to adjudicate and has a cool story that they would like to run the characters through. You have to let that go if you play Dark Age of Man. The control of the story and the story that you have made, that you want them to experience your story or the module story, that isn't in play. If you want them to experience a situation like Jason put in front of us, there's go. How do you guys get to it? Let's all discover, let's all play to find out together and see where this leads. see where the story leads. That's what it's all about. And yeah, the AP challenge. If you go look at other APs and look at Dark Age of Man and get in, it facilitates more so of a continued immersive role play narrative on the screen, as opposed to um, more so how much of a percentage is dealt with adjudication and in-game discussions and committee meetings about what to do and talking about role play and the beer and pretzel banter on the side. How much of that is taken out? And people may enjoy doing that. It's a different experience, but this is more so you really having a good time, and you don't want to break that immersion to step out of character, and you're realizing this character both for yourself. Oh, this is who this character is, even from the presenter. These are who these characters are. This is the world. When you jump in the shoes of that king or that Viking, the Viking tribesman that is being approached by the characters, you're still in his mindset, and you are allowed to be, because you're not ducking out all the time, making sure that you check a rule so much. It allows you to be immersed. And yet the rules that we have for Dark Age of Man facilitate and support this interaction, this world interaction. Nevertheless, I'm gonna get off here for the day. That's my 2 cents. Jason probably has his own, as everybody else has who has played or either presented, aka GM, the game. But in fact, yeah, it's a very interesting question or request, basically. And I think that if you haven't played it, if you'd like to play test it, say so. We'll send you a link to the playtest group. You can join it. You can play with us. See what you think. Really, until you dip your toes in it and get in there, you're not going to really fully know how it works or if it's for you. But I would say come on in. The water's fine. All right. So y'all have a great day. Talk to you later.